The Balloon Beauty. Author, An Watanabe. First published in 1970. Publisher Barajujisha. At the Ueno Expo, a hot air balloon was launched into the sky. Floating in the early summer blue, it looked like something straight out of an old copperplate illustration. This balloon wasn't an advertisement for a store or anything like that. It was set up purely to take expo visitors into the air, 1 yen for an hour-long ride. When I was very small, my father once took me to some kind of exposition. The fairgrounds had a huge fairy land, full of new and exciting rides, Ferris wheels, water chutes, and so on. And just like now, there was a balloon rising above the treetops of Ueno Park, carrying a basket full of passengers. But my father refused to let me ride it.
Balloons are far too dangerous.
He insisted, no matter how much I begged. Ever since that day, the balloon became one of my greatest childhood dreams. The idea that something could simply hover in empty air, light as a stray cloud, was, in those early days of my life, the first great mystery I ever encountered. And now, 20 years later, that dream had returned. The balloon ride had come back. I was so thrilled at the chance to finally fulfill my long-held wish that I visited the expo almost every clear day, passing through the gate with the excitement of a kid. But strangely, the balloon wasn't popular at all. It seemed that this ride, once so magical to my young heart, had already fallen far behind the times. Within only a few weeks, there were days when it barely managed to attract more than a handful of customers. For me, though, this was a blessing. Thanks to its unpopularity, I could spend a peaceful hour in the sky as if I were the owner of the balloon myself. From 500 meters above the ground, the modern city below spread out like the most incredible panorama. With no noise, no rushing speed, everything muted under a soft haze glowing in the warm sunlight, the city wriggled slowly like a tiny living creature. And I loved that quiet, aimless view more than anything. I eventually became familiar with the girl who sold the boarding tickets. We would greet each other every day. One afternoon, as I was stepping off the balloon platform and about to head home, she stopped me and said,
"Honestly, I just can't figure it out anymore. Why do you come here every single day just to ride that balloon?"
I smiled and answered, "Because I want to see you, of course."
"Oh, you're such a smooth talker. But, at first, I kind of wondered if you really meant it. Hee hee."
She let out a playful laugh, light and bold, but then quickly swallowed it back down, as if embarrassed by her own forwardness. Straightening her posture, she leaned in and lowered her voice.
"Careful, your partner's here."
A tall foreign man, oddly carrying an umbrella despite the perfectly clear weather, was walking toward us. He too had come to ride the balloon. I recognized his umbrella, and the impressive gray beard attached to his chin. Surprised, I whispered to the girl, "That foreign gentleman, does he come here often?"
"Every single day. That's why I call him your partner."
"My partner?"
"Well, who knows? Maybe he's here to keep an eye on me too. Ha, ha, ha."
"In that case," I said, "I'll ride with him tomorrow." On my way home, I found myself thinking carefully about the foreigner. Now that I thought about it, whenever I left around this time of day, I usually passed him somewhere between the balloon site and the expo's exit gate. I had simply assumed he worked for the exposition office or something of that sort, and never paid him much attention. But still, a foreigner of his age, coming to ride the balloon every day? That was hard to believe. There had to be some serious reason behind it. Something more than simple amusement. The next day, I deliberately arrived one ride late, about an hour behind my usual time.
"You're late. That foreign gentleman is already up there."
Even before the ticket girl said that, while I was buying my ticket I noticed a tall man getting into the balloon basket. I quickly followed him and got on. Aside from the foreigner and me, there was a country-looking woman with her hair in a traditional bun. She looked pale and anxious, and she was accompanied by her middle school-aged son. The foreigner kept his face turned outward, smoking quietly on his pipe. Soon, the fresh gas-filled balloon dropped its sandbags and began its slow, swaying ascent. At that moment, the woman let out a scream and clung desperately to her son's shoulders. The sudden shift threw the entire basket off balance, tilting it sharply. Even the foreigner whipped around in surprise. The Westerner had a scruffy beard, but his features were soft and somewhat reminiscent of Turgenev. There seemed to be a sudden, melancholy light in his eyes.
Let me down. Please, just let me down.
The woman cried, almost in tears.
You can't move. It'll shake even more.
Her son snapped, panicked himself.
It's not that scary. Just stay still.
But the boy's teeth were chattering. Suspended in the vast, endless sky with nothing but a small wicker basket beneath him, of course he was terrified. Just sit still, I told them gently. Once we get higher, the fear actually fades. The foreigner glanced at me, just for a moment. The balloon kept rising until it reached the end of its tethering ropes, then stopped. Even on a calm day, invisible winds always flowed through the upper air, so the basket swayed slightly left and right. The woman and her son had completely lost their nerve. They sat huddled at the bottom of the basket, refusing to stand again. The foreigner reached into the leather-strapped bag slung across his chest and pulled out a pair of binoculars. But he wasn't admiring the scenery. He was searching, truly searching, for something. His long fingers trembled impatiently as he refocused again and again, combing through the streets of Tokyo far below, studying every shadow and alley as if determined not to miss the smallest detail. I forgot all about enjoying the ride myself and watched him instead. Yet even then, I couldn't begin to guess what part of that enormous city he kept aiming at, or what exactly he hoped to find. What on earth is he trying to locate in this city of tin roofs and shavings of wood? The next day, I rode with him again. He spent the entire time peering through the binoculars. The day after that, same thing. And the day after. And the next. And the next. My curiosity kept growing, faster and faster, until finally I began to imagine something outrageous. Could this Westerner be some kind of military spy? Once that idea took root, my innocent interest in the balloon itself was pushed entirely to the corner of my mind. The Westerner, for his part, must have found me suspicious as well. One day, he spoke to me, hesitantly.
We seem to meet at the same time every day,
he said. I can't come any earlier because of my work schedule. I answered.
Do you like hot air balloons that much?
Yes. I think the view from a balloon is more beautiful than any landscape painting.
Perhaps it's because you're closer to heaven,
he said with a faint smile.
From up here, all the dirt of the world looks washed clean.
I gathered my courage and asked. Then, would you tell me about the thing you're searching for every day? He immediately panicked.
No. That's something I can't easily talk about. Well, if I had to say something, it's a treasure. A treasure on the ground. Ha ha ha.
Then, as if suddenly offended, he turned his back to me and went back to staring through his binoculars. But not long after that, I realized I had been terribly wrong about him. A military spy wouldn't have such a shy, Turgenev-like face. Nor would he be riding around in a colorful balloon that looked like a child's toy. Realizing this, I felt quietly embarrassed about my own imagination. As the 3-month exposition drew to its end, the season slowly slipped into the rainy weeks of early summer. Whenever it rained, of course, the balloon couldn't fly. And I, shut up in my damp, unhealthy little house, spent those days lying around like a heavenly maiden who had lost her feathered robe, miserable and crushed with boredom. Some mornings the sun peeked through, but by afternoon the sky dimmed into a gloomy gray, and soon the rain would begin to fall, wet, heavy, relentless. More than once, after I had gone all the way to the fairgrounds, the balloon would sag helplessly in front of us, unable to rise. The Westerner and I would wait and wait for the smallest break in the clouds, and when the rain finally grew too heavy to ignore, we exchanged tired, joking smiles of mutual disappointment and walked back together under the drizzling sky. Even if he had been a sphinx, we had grown close enough that it no longer mattered. I even learned his name, Mikhail. One day, although the forecast clearly warned of rain, I couldn't resist going again. By the time I got off the streetcar, a soft misty drizzle was already falling across the surface of Shinabazu Pond. I lifted the collar of my raincoat and stood quietly near the hedge of Chinese quinces by the pond. Then, from the direction of the faded main gate of the exposition, I saw someone walking toward me, tilting his umbrella at a careless angle. It was my Mikhail. He noticed me and, as always, nodded with a gentle smile. We shared one umbrella and walked down toward Yamashita.
Are you free tonight?
Yes, I am.
Then let's have a drink this evening.
That sounds wonderful. His unexpected invitation surprised me a little, but spending a whole evening talking with him was, in truth, exactly what I had wanted. We went to a small bar in the nearby suburbs, a cozy place where I often went. Because of the rain, and because most students were taking exams, the bar was quiet. A girl with a neat, cropped haircut brought us what we jokingly called Dimple's whiskey, our favorite good quality kind. Do you think it'll rain tomorrow too? I asked.
Hard to say.
There's only 1 week left of the exposition. If we're unlucky, it might never clear up again. Mikhail drained another glass in one swallow and let out a deep sigh. So in the end, you still haven't found your treasure on the ground? At that, his eyes suddenly filled with tears, large, shining tears that slid down his smooth white cheeks and disappeared into his thick beard. You're drunk, I laughed.
I am drunk. And that's why I'm finally ready to tell you about my treasure.
Thank you. Have another drink first. I signaled the girl, who poured him more whiskey.
This is a story about love.
Mikhail began.
My treasure is none other than my one and only beloved, something more precious than anything on earth.
A love story? Well now, I didn't expect that, I admitted, startled.
It was like a revelation from God. Please listen. Nearly 3 months ago, I was planning a sightseeing trip to the inland sea with a friend who had come from my homeland. Before leaving, I went to the M department store to buy supplies, and while I was there, I bought a pair of binoculars. That very day, I went to the rooftop and tried them out for the first time. It was a clear afternoon. I could see the blue sea of Shinagawa, crowded with cargo ships, and the countless chimneys and tin roofs, and clotheslines heavy with laundry. Above Ueno's hill, a balloon floated in the sky, and beneath it the fading cherry blossoms looked dirty, like old cotton darkened with soot. Then I happened to move the lens a little, and suddenly the figures of many people on the streets came into view. Among them, I saw her, a girl of extraordinary beauty, a young Japanese woman with her hair done traditionally, the very image of Eastern grace, her face gentle, pure, almost like a Buddha. The moment I saw her, my heart was struck violently. A sharp, overwhelming longing tore through me. I tried again and again to adjust the focus, but in my haste I only lost it further. And while I fumbled, I lost her. She disappeared into the moving crowd. No matter how hard I searched, it was useless. So I made a decision. I would do anything to find her again. I canceled the trip and returned every day to the rooftop of the department store, always at the same hour, waiting and searching. But then I realized that the direction I had seen her, toward Ueno, meant that the balloon at the exposition gave me a much better vantage point. So I changed plans and rode the balloon instead. Yet 1 month passed. Then 2. And as you know, nothing came of it. The exposition is ending. I've lost the courage to return to the rooftop. My love, my precious treasure, may have suffered the fate of a meteor falling into the deep forests of Siberia, vanishing forever beneath the leaves, never to be found again.
Mikhail wept, quietly, bitterly. I'm so sorry, I said, suddenly moved to sadness myself. I stumbled up from my seat and called out. Okay, Chan. Another round of Dimple's whiskey. The final day of the exposition arrived, and, surprisingly, it was a perfect, cloudless Japanese blue sky day. Once the rain stopped, the deep summer blue sky shone so brightly it almost hurt to look at. Since it was the very last day, the balloon was sent up in full festive style, its striped colors vivid and cheerful against the heavens. Mikhail and I shook hands as we stood in the balloon basket.
I had almost entirely given up,
he said, pulling his binoculars from his satchel.
But seeing weather this unbelievably perfect on the very last day, I can't help but feel that today I might finally be blessed with a miracle.
If that really happens, I answered, I'd be just as happy as you. Mikhail, more excited than I had ever seen him, lifted his binoculars and scanned the grounds. And then, the miracle began.
There she is!
He suddenly shouted.
I see her! Exactly the same, her hair, her clothes, everything. This time I won't lose her.
I nearly jumped. You saw her? Truly? Where? Overcome with emotion, Mikhail leaned so far out of the basket that half his body was hanging in the air. Alarmed, I grabbed him and pulled him back.
Oh, my treasure of the earth! My life!
He cried. All right, where is she? Let me see too. Still trembling, Mikhail thrust the binoculars into my hands and explained rapidly.
Right below us. In the very center of the exposition. In front of the elephant-shaped building, between the big red flag and the green tent. There's a group of men in Henton jackets, and among them there's one woman. That's her. Do you see?
I focused the binoculars exactly as he directed. And yes, I did find a beautiful female face. But then... I almost dropped the binoculars in shock. Because the woman I saw, Mikhail's long-sought, beloved treasure, was in fact a decorative store mannequin, dressed up and being carried out by the workers of the exhibition, probably from some kimono shop's display.